Welcome back to Mongostorian's Berserk series. Today we're going to be covering chapter 131 to 134. Now in our last video, Guts saw a vision with Casca's deformed demon child, implying that she was in danger. When he arrived at Godo's workshop, he learned that Casca had ran away one day while picking berries with Erica. After listening to the words of the dying Godo, Guts realized that he had made a mistake in leaving Casca behind, and he vowed to track her down. As night falls, Rickard gets to work fixing Guts' equipment while the rest of the house sleeps. While working, Puck flutters down saying that it looks like he's hard at work. He should help him since he's such a good blacksmith too. Rickard tells him that's okay, and Puck stomps around bored with nothing to do. As Rickard gets back to work, he says that actually, he would like to thank him. Since Godo became ill and Guts had disappeared, Erica stopped smiling. After seeing an elf, she brightened back up again. Rickard goes on saying that for Guts, after he had left, he had had a bad feeling and he would like to think that meeting him would be a good thing. However, it's as if Guts isn't the same man that he once was. Puck quietly sits and Rickard continues saying, even still, having an elf with Guts could make me smile even just a little bit more. Puck blushes, telling him, stop! And then he pulls out a drill, shouting, I'm gonna help you fix this stuff no matter what! As the two talk, Godo comes in telling them they're so damn noisy. As Godo goes to grab his hammer, Rickard shouts that he should be in bed resting, but Godo stomps him, telling him, I have a favor to ask. And that is that you take care of Erica. Rickard stands there without saying a word, and Godo continues saying how Erica really isn't his daughter. She had lost her family in the war, which was something rather common, and when the two met, he decided to bring her along so that he could focus on something other than blacksmithing. While Godo gets to work preparing the Dragon Slayer for repairs, he begins to say that even for a sword with cracks and rust on it, it's still a good sword at its core. Even when it was put into the fire, it always revives itself, and while working on the sword, he tells Rickard to make sure and tell Guts to not be like him, and he strikes down on the blade. The next morning as the sun rises, Guts holds out the Dragon Slayer to inspect it, and then he sheaths it on his back. He continues to gear up and Rickard tells him that Godo prepared some new armor for him just in case he stomped by. But there are some other things that he made as well. Rickard hands him a new crossbow and another weapon that uses gunpowder, and with these there's no assembly, so put them on and use them right away. Guts takes the crossbow and he connects it to his arm and he tells him, looks real nice. And Rickard then asks if he has any idea where to start looking for Casca. Guts mentions that there is something about a holy ground, a place where the shepherds can gather. Rickard thinks on it and says, maybe the place in the north called the Tower of Conviction is your best bet then. I'm not sure about shepherds, but refugees escape there from the plague, though some get arrested because they're heretics. A vision of Casca on a stake passes through Guts' mind and he realizes that the place could be an inquisition. He turns to head out and Rickard asks him to take care of Casca. Guts nods and then he calls it to Godo, telling him that he's one hell of a blacksmith. I'll make sure to have you look after my sword again when I come back. Godo shouts out, calling him stupid. He isn't doing it again. And with that, Guts steps out. However, during the time that Guts has set out to go to Godo's, Farnese and the Holy Iron Chain Knights assisted in the transport of refugees in an armored carriage from Windham to the Tower of Conviction. Serpico looks at the refugees and says that it looks like the whole country is moving. And Azan tells him that it's not just the plague that's been hitting. Apparently the Kushan army invaded and wiped the place out, and Queen Charlotte is now to be found. Serpico begins to question on the location that they are taking the refugees, and Farnese calls back to him telling them that they have orders to only focus on the task at hand. If anything changes, she'll be told. But even after that, Serpico whispers to Azan that Farnese isn't like her normal self since what happened in the court. Back in the courts, the Vatican yelled at Farnese for taking 2 years to capture the Black Swordsman, only to lose him. Farnese argued the fact that they are an army but the other members talked over her, stating that the Holy Iron Chain is different from common armies. The troops are supposed to be a symbol and not actually fight. The lives lost were that of important noblemen. They go on saying how the tradition is that the leader of the army is a woman, but perhaps this task is too great even for her. So they're going to assign her a new simpler task. Now be gone! Back in the current times, Farnese thinks about what happened back with Guts and the horse, all while staring at the horse that she is riding. She tells herself that it was all a dream, none of those things happened. All she has to do is keep her faith and protect this man. While the crowds pass through the narrow part of the mountain, some of the guards shout that the refugees need to step back. The refugees yell that there's no room, but another says to be quiet. It's the Inquisitor's carriage. He isn't a normal one. Everyone looks up to see the guards on the carriage holding 4 red wheels, and everyone starts to talk amongst themselves. Some say that out of the 500 people questioned, only a few lived. Every little wrongdoing a person has ever committed will be weighed against them. But as the Inquisitor's carriage moves along, a group of bandits appear, and it rains arrows down on the groups. The bandits all begin to shout, "Death to Mozgus!" and they charge at the carriage. But as the bandits get close, one of the guards opens up the carriage door and yells for Mozgus to come out. As the guards move away, a giant metal claw shoots out, grabbing one of the men and throwing him to the ground. While everyone watches, two other bandits find themselves between two long saw blades, and then they are pressed together as the blades tear through them. Another man shouts, asking, "What is happening?" And then two clamps reach out to grab the man's eyes and pull them out of their sockets. Soon, a large man steps out holding a giant wheel above his head. As he walks to one of the bandits, he slams it down, crushing another man's torso. The bandits all begin to panic, and finally a metal-spiked collar shoots out, grabbing a man by the neck, forcing him to his knees. Mozgus steps out of the carriage asking, "What on earth are you doing here? God respects silence." Mozgus then turns to Farnese, and she throws herself at his feet, saying that she was not ready for the surprise attack. Please forgive her. But Mozgus just smiles, telling him, No, please rise. God is always looking out for his servants. I'm just glad no one from your army was hurt. Farnese thanks him and then turns to the hooded man asking, "Who are they?" And Mozgus says that these are his trusty executioners. They are trained to be ready for ambushes like this. He then calls out for the man who attacked them to be brought forward. The executioner with the collar drags the man over and sets him in front of Mozgus, who then asks, "Please tell me, what was the reason for this attack?" The man struggles with the collar, saying that while him and the other men were out protecting their village, he came by and burned all of the women and children because he thought it was a pagan village. Mozgus calmly tells him, "Yes, that did happen, but my judgments are always fair and followed by God's rule." The man shouts that it's because of that they are out starving, and that's why they couldn't donate to the temple. It's because of that God will punish him. Mozgus grinds his teeth, saying, "Punish?" His face begins to bulge and twist, and he asks, "God will punish me?" Mozgus lifts his arm up holding the Bible, and he slams it onto the man's head, shouting, "You heretic!" The force of the book pops the man's eyes out of their sockets, and Mozgus says, "He dares kill for revenge and then ask for justice from God?" The crowd, including the armies, remains silent as they watch, and Mozgus puts back on his hat, asking Farnese if he can ask her a question. He then calmly asks, "What is it that we should do with these men?" Farnese tries to find the words, and then finally she says, "Normally when someone tries to kill a priest, they're sentenced to death." Mozgus claps his hand, saying, "Good, you know the law." And then he snaps his fingers, asking them to bring the wheel. As the giant executioner steps forward, Mozgus looks back at the other men and tells them, "I sentence you all to death." The two executioners grab one of the men as he kicks and screams, begging for them to stop. But the giant executioner holds up the wheel, slamming it down, breaking the man's legs. He then crushes the next man's arms, and all Farnese can do is watch in horror as Mozgus delivers God's punishment. One of the man's limbs is then wrapped around the wheel, and the next man is called forward. Before reaching the front, the man pulls away, running into the carriage, begging for somebody to help him. A woman grabs the man's face and begins to touch it, and after feeling it, another woman stops her, telling her to come along. The guard getting the man then asks the first woman if she's a part of this, and the second woman tells him no. The man just came and fell on her. The guard looks at the first girl and sees her sort of drooling. He screams for someone to help him while the guard pulls him away, and the second woman turns to the first, stating that her name is Luca. And is she okay? The first woman doesn't decide, and Luca angrily says that she hates watching this. She would much rather sleep with a diseased old man than be a part of this. As the crowds begin to move, the first woman stands looking up at the bodies of the men who just died. Luca pulls the woman, stating, "Come on, you're just gonna get sick if you stare too long." But as Luca pulls the woman away, we see it's Casca, and she watches as the men get eaten by crows and smiles. Elsewhere on the road to the Tower of Conviction, a group of men surround a young boy as the boy shouts that he just spent 4 days getting his food. They should have known better than to bully a kid. One of the bandits leans down, saying how he would just like to make it so that he doesn't grow up to be like one of them. And the boy grits his teeth. He then throws his bag down, saying, "Fine, I really don't want to die before getting to know about women anyway." As the bandits begin eating, one says, "Look at all that food left behind," and another mentions that it's because of the Kushan. The boy then says that he really hopes that they enjoy that food, and suddenly the men begin to feel sick. The large man asks what did he do, and the boy laughs, opening his coat, stating that the food is right here. He just hates being treated unfairly by their kind. The large man lifts his axe, shouting that he'll kill him, but then the boy wraps a string of sausages around his head and cracks the man in the head with the sheath of his own sword. The boy says that he does have a name, you know. It's Isidro. And as the man falls, Isidro tells him that it's just a light poison. They won't die, but they better go find another job other than robbing little kids. As Isidro goes to leave, he notices another group of men down the road. The group sees a passed out man and asks what's going on, and Isidro begins to cry, saying, "It's so scary! The Kushan army was here!" All of the men begin to discuss what they should do, and Isidro sneaks off and then is told to wait by one of the men. The man says that it's kind of strange. They didn't hear any horses, and the people left here don't have any knife injuries. In fact, they wouldn't even let a little kid go. Isidro tells him, well, they are right here, look! Isidro points in the distance and a knife is thrown, lodging itself into the man's skull. When everyone looks up, they see themselves surrounded by the actual Kushan army. The army begins to pull out their knives and then they jump down onto the group of men, stabbing them through their helmets. One man tries to attack and a bladed ring is thrown into his face. Another is impaled by several sticks. Isidro watches and panics, and then only a split second later, all of these men are killed. From behind Isidro, another Kushan walks out pulling out his knife, and then he stops at the sound of a man walking by. Everyone turns to see Guts, and the Kushan all turn their blades to him. Guts just stares at them and continues to walk without even breaking stride. As the Kushan get close, Guts effortlessly takes out his sword and swings, cutting all of the men in half. The severed bodies fly past him and the rest of the Kushan watch. Guts then looks back at his bloody sword, saying how he's really glad that he got to try out his new toy. Isidro asks, what the hell is that thing? And Guts yells to the rest of the Kushan to get lost! I'm kind of in a hurry. From above, a Kushan jumps down, but before he can even hit him, Guts throws his fake arm, crushing the man's face, saying that he guesses they won't be listening. Isidro tries to figure out what to do, but Puck flies over saying that he should probably go on and get out of here. This place is about to get dangerous. More of the Kushan attack, but using his metal arm, Guts just knocks away the blades and swings away. The Kushan all jump back, so Guts swings so fast that their feet are all cut off at the knees. Two more jump out and another from above, so Guts turns back, swinging his sword over his head, slicing through the top man's head and crushing the one below. Everyone stares at him for a moment and Guts jumps through everyone, ripping them apart. When the last of them lie dead at his feet, Guts holds out the Dragon Slayer and says that Godo did a really good job with this one. Isidro watches, thinking how strong this guy really is, and Puck says that he has food for him. He smells it. Now, we aren't gonna ask for much, and Guts tells Puck it's time to go. He flies up carrying some of Isidro's food, but all Isidro can do is think about how strong this guy is. As he passes by, Guts looks at the men and he thinks that he's seen them all before. Oh well. Isidro, still left speechless, decides that maybe he should just follow this guy. And while they all leave off in the distance, a monk asks if it's already time for them to be letting them all go. The leader says that their mission is scouting, they shouldn't lose any more soldiers, and he goes on saying that they can kill him, but they should be sacrificing something in return. The monk then asks if he knows that man, and Salat pulls down his mask saying, yes, though it was a very long time ago. However, we have other things that we need to do. We must find the land of the Oracle. Up ahead, Guts begins running towards the tower, telling himself, faster, I gotta go faster. Soon, Guts will hopefully find Casca. We can get back on track. We're trying to make Casca sane again. Lots gotta happen though, guys. We have a lot more Berserk to cover, and I hope you're enjoying this. Don't forget to subscribe to get your Friday edition of Berserk right here at Mangastorian, and follow us on Twitter at Mangastorian. I'll see you next time right here.